tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, AfterBuzzers. Welcome back to AfterBuzz TV's Narcos After Show. We're here breaking down Season 1, Episode 5. There will be a future. My name is Isaac Johnson. You can follow me on Twitter at Isaac Johnson and Instagram, the Isaac Johnson. I've got a fantastic panel of associates with me. We've got Ashley Chapman back here.
Hey guys, thank you all for tuning in at this another episode.
There you go.
You guys can tweet at me, Ashley_Chapman. Love to hear your comments.
Yeah, and it only took half a season to get me and Dave back together.
You know, we like to build
season.
suspense.
Number 5 is the charm, right?
Is back.
Here I am.
Here for the first time
the
with
team,
me.
the Isaac Dave team that everybody loved sometimes
From
and
the
hated
Halt and
others.
Catch
From
Fire.
Halt and Catch Fire.
Mostly your mom.
Mostly my number one fan.
She's a big fan. I hope she's watching.
She hasn't started this one yet.
What?
This one isn't like as much of a mom show, but I think she could like it.
Pablo's got a mother. What's
That's
the
true.
difference?
Show with the
mom
mom.
themes
She
in
should
here.
love.
Yeah, what's wrong?
Yeah, you can tweet at me at GoBlueDave and Dave Abed on Instagram. And great to have the 3-panel.
Yeah.
And great
Team
for a
gang
great
For the rest of the
episode.
season,
Yes.
none of us will miss.
That's the
Pinky
goal.
swear,
That is
everybody?
the goal.
No? Folks, head over to youtube.com AfterBuzzTV. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. How did you guys feel? Okay, episode 5. I know you guys talked about 4 last week when I was gone, and a little bit of 5, but how do we feel about 5 as a whole?
I mean, I felt it's moving the story along even more and more. I'm loving it as we dive deeper into it, and I like that it's getting into different aspects each episode. It's a continuation story, but particularly this episode, it really focuses on just Escobar and how he's starting to get really desperate, and it's just so interesting to watch. That demise. Yeah, I thought it was a good episode.
Yeah, I was thinking on the way over here, because we touched on briefly whether, Pablo at all, especially in the couple episodes, was at all a sympathetic character, if you could.
Sure.
And I think as it goes on, and I did peek ahead towards the next episode, and it gets even more intense, but he is becoming more evil.
Yeah.
You really just, it's hard almost to believe that somebody, a real person, is this horrible and just so willing to throw away human life. And I think the show is doing a really great job of, in the beginning, you're like, he's just selling some drugs. What's the big deal? Right.
Yeah.
And then more and more, he's just getting more ruthless and more careless. He has no boundaries for who he's willing to step on and kill. And I think that's just getting more and more apparent, which makes the show more exciting, but in a way, it's depressing.
Yeah. Well, what I thought was interesting, on that same point, is just that, seeing him hand teenagers or kids guns, that's kind of speaking a little more to his
with
character
no emotion
there.
in his face.
Yeah, we're just we're doing the right thing. Basically child soldiers, which is an awful thing. And also, I like seeing, which we'll talk about later, but Carrillo really kind of poking the bear there at the end of the episode.
That's exciting.
And he poked it.
Real nice. Yeah, he sure did.
I'm not gonna. In the other show, I would have made sexual jokes. Here, it just doesn't seem as as right.
It's still appropriate. This is a show about.
That's true.
Coke,
this episode did have some boob in it, so we know it's going to be highly rated.
Pay attention to the important details of the show.
Right.
Well, let's jump on in here. Speaking of boobs. Javier is protecting Elisa, and the only way that he knows how to. Is there an informant that he cannot sleep with? Is this part of the training ritual? What's going on here?
That's how he really gets it out of his informants. Really gets it out.
It's look, I need to protect you.
Right.
Yeah.
And we need to use
Drop your
protection.
pants,
And you wonder if this is one of those real things.
It's got to be.
It's got to be.
Yeah,
right.
He seems to be quite the ladies' man. Even when he's trying to get the passport or whatever it is for her later, he's kind of complimenting the ladies' males. He's a ladies' man.
But even story-wise, it really allows him to double down on needing to protect her and having a certain feeling about her. So that's why I wonder if it's true, because it just works so perfectly in moving the story and that part of the story forward.
Yeah, he's got to be feeling some guilt too, because his last informant that he also slept with died. And so now I think he's trying to maybe hopefully make up, because it was almost a similar situation where he was trying to protect her or get her out of the country or something to that effect.
Well, she didn't quite die, but she was brutally. Was that the one? That
right. Sorry. Yeah, she was.
But yeah, she was mentally.
Yeah,
that was the one where she was raped, right?
Yeah,
by everybody?
that
Okay.
one. Sorry. Yeah, which I guess hopefully she's in a safe place at this point in time. But I gotta imagine that he's motivated by the same thing. But I'm trying to wonder, like, how does he really know he can trust her? I mean, is she just in too deep, Elisa, or is she working both sides? I couldn't tell if I could fully trust her.
Well, I think we kind of talked about this a little bit in the last episode, is that she's kind of backed herself into a corner.
Right.
So she knows that she's on the top of the U.S. government hit list, so to speak.
Yeah, they got
They're
a picture
after
on
her.
that board there.
Exactly. So, I mean, messing with the U.S. government, that's a completely different scary thing to have to deal with. And then obviously, because after this whole thing that they did with the Palace of Justice,
Right.
you know, they're kind of on, the Colombian government is kind of on M19 because of that. So I think that she just sort of saw, okay, this is the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
I have to go with this group because I have some connection to them via Connie. And I think she felt like, okay, well, I mean, I think he can kind of read that as, okay, well, what else? What are your other options?
Right.
If you betray me, like, where are you going to go? Type of thing.
Now, sometimes I get lost in storylines, and perhaps there's some people in the audience that have the same. So her point, the reason they need her, she can tie Pablo Escobar to the Palace of Justice situation, right? And so why are we waiting? Why are they not bringing her forward right away?
Because she's a communist.
Yeah.
Okay, so they need to finesse the relationship, try to figure out when the right time to bring her forward is.
Yeah, it seems that way.
I mean, I don't even know if it's so much finessing. They just have to figure out how to, like, they don't even seem to want to say who the informant is. They just basically
well, they lie,
say,
right?
Yeah, they just want to say, this is the information. You don't need to know who it came from specifically.
Yeah.
Here is the information, and just tie it to
Well, Javier specifically, I think, wants to protect her, and maybe he doesn't know what's going to happen if he gives her up as his informant.
Yeah.
Which I guess being a secret informant is a secret for a reason, maybe.
Right.
But
in this country.
yeah. But also some of the lengths they're willing to go to later, they're like waterboarding that dude, which I was like, oh, apparently that's been around for a while. But I don't know. There's some point where she was talking to Connie about, well, one, Connie just kind of brings her over to the house. It's kind of like, well, that was, I hope that was a good deal. You're not being set up, but I guess not. But she's talking to her later about, like, because Connie's like, well, you're a communist, and she kind of comes back at her with, like, well, look, I'm sure everything's great in America or whatever. She said something like that, but I don't know. I'm still on the fence of whether I can really trust her motives. They seem mostly good, but it would be like kind of the perfect setup if they were trying to get more information about the DEA.
And are we still waiting for the government to have something to actually arrest Pablo? I mean, they don't need to. What's the point of, like, they could already get him if they could find him, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like to turn the country more against him?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, no, because the evidence that they had against him was destroyed in the Palace of Justice. Okay. So they're kind of...
But he stuck that one thing in his pants. I remember. There was some paper that he was like, take this out.
Missed that scene.
That I forwarded.
Wasn't that the information on the old DA Barry guy? The guy
the one that got killed?
Yeah, the one who got killed, who basically had the picture that led him to the picture of him.
Oh, that's what that was?
Yeah, the picture of him on the dog.
Okay. So I think at this point, I mean, it seemed like the DEA wasn't at one point super concerned about really catching Pablo until they tied communism to it.
Right.
So when all of his evidence was basically destroyed in the Palace of Justice, now they need something else to sort of connect it to that.
Okay.
And then if it's, communist group, like the M19 communist group with it, then that'll really be sort of the nail in the coffin.
Okay.
So, I mean, it seems like they should already, it's like, okay.
It's hard when you see it on the screen. You're like, get
all the stuff that he's done at this point.
There.
He blew up, Palace of Justice. So, I mean, you would think that the logical thing to do would be like, let's just go after this guy and attack him. And he has fled at this point. I mean,
they're in Panama, if I read that right. But so
the horrible Panama.
Yeah, I mean, they seem like they're having an alright vacation.
Right.
Like,
oh my God, this is so horrible.
It looks like it's not such a bad place.
No. Yeah.
Plus, you're rich. I mean,
right.
So
doesn't seem all that bad to me. But he has Galan executed or assassinated, I guess, basically. which is like no one seems to be happy with. But at the same time, the whole reason that they're here is because of this whole extradition thing.
Yeah.
Why is everyone so upset with him? I was a little lost on that point. Like all of his, I guess, cartel was sort of
because they had to flee, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess. Well, sorry. Now it just came to me. But so he had the Minister of Justice.
Yes.
His name is
Laura.
Yeah. Sorry. He had him killed, and that's the whole reason they're here now. So that makes a lot more sense. Sorry. Sometimes I just have to say things out loud.
It's true, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information.
A lot of information. A lot of people.
That's how I process it.
Real.
But I thought it was like still pretty ballsy that while they're out, in Panama on their lovely little vacation, to have someone else assassinated.
Yeah.
It seems to speak more to his psychosis about who he thinks he is, and how untouchable he seems to think he is at this point in time.
And just his boldness to think that that was going to be the thing that would settle the whole extradition issue. It's like you killed yet again another senator or another like high official in Colombia. Like, do you really think, okay, we'll just kill him and then we can go back and it'll be all good? So yeah, for me it was just his whole thinking process. Like he's really sort of talking himself into circles.
And we see it in his posse, and we're seeing it more and more. People are being like, what are you doing?
Like,
this is only making it worse, which is true. They're getting more, the DEA and the Colombian government are getting more and more brazen in attacking them. Because for a while they're afraid, but now they're like, we can't even afford to be afraid anymore.
Yeah. Well, specifically, is Fabio there, who's like
is that the younger kid?
He's like getting his workout on there.
Was not even that jacked? Do they like show him lifting and you're like...
So you have
come on, Isaac could lift as much as
he
that.
looked like he was in shape. I don't know how
Right.
much it was.
He had half an ab, but I guess for TV standards, that's fine.
Right.
But even that dude, I was like, why is that guy questioning him so
I thought
much?
he was going to get popped.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thought is like, he's really kind of like getting up in his face and challenging him and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, I was surprised it didn't happen. We got to think that because... Gosh, sorry, I saw Black Mass like 2 weeks ago, and I can't remember if like some of the storylines in my head. But I know like when you question the head guy, not good for you. You could.
So
be
that doesn't seem to be a
easily.
theme in this one, right? Like I can't really think of any time that Pablo's killed any of his own men.
Well, he killed Cockroach when he questioned.
Yeah,
him
that
from
wasn't
the
necessarily
beginning,
his
But that guy
dude.
sucked. Yeah. They never respected that. They never respected that
Also,
guy.
character inside that guy.
That guy just sucked. That was his backstory.
Really
yeah, that was his backstory.
I imagine that.
Me
was
and
like
Walt
in
Whitman are very similar in our descriptions.
that was like in the script notes, and they're like, "This guy
He
sucks."
Yeah, they're like, oh, I get it. I get why I don't like him. But besides that, yeah, like they do have set up that Pablo will allow a certain level of dissent.
Yeah.
Sure. I get the feeling that it's pushing him pretty far, but then I guess. Well, because Fabio is, I guess, part of the Ochoas there, so now it seems like they've got some sort of thing that they're brewing behind the scenes to kind of, I guess, break off from him. Do we think that they would go after him, or do you think they would just try to set up their own business? Because I don't think that you can set up your own business without taking out the guy in charge.
I think it's risky to do either one right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they're all on the run. Going back means either being killed or being extradited to the United States and spending the rest of your life in prison, which that's already happened.
Right.
So, to one of their men. So, I think that while they're all angry and while they're all trying to plot and scheme, I think at the real deal they realize, like, okay, we have to be led back in by Escobar. Like, he's got to hit the brunt of it first for us to feel comfortable enough to do anything else. So they're kind of stuck in between.
And bottom line, those guys aren't
and a
making
hard
as much
place.
money now that they're in Panama.
But I mean, they were one of the top 10 richest people in the world.
He's like number 7 or something.
Like Pablo was like number 5, and the other dude was like number 8.
Yeah.
Well, so they have a lot of money, but what do men with more power, more money want?
That's what the show is really saying. Is like no matter how much money they just, and that there was that whole speech with Pablo's wife where she's like, I can never be happy unless. What's the point of having money if you can't go home?
Yeah,
I feel like that was a reminder to the audience because I think probably a lot of people are like, what the hell is the problem?
Yeah.
Like you got tons of money, but then it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess you're not happy unless you're home.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a great audience question, like kind
Yeah.
of thing. They're like, "What are we thinking?"
One of those, the more you know.
Yeah, put it in our face. Yeah.
Yeah, well, sometimes I feel like the show needs to do that because there's so many details. I mean, historically, it seems very accurate. And
Do you do much? I don't do any
I didn't do
research
a
because I want to
ton,
be
but
surprised.
I know that like it seems like some of these details. I think that if it was just straight fiction, then they probably leave some of them out. So some of them seem to be important. So sometimes it's good to be reminded by like character asking that kind of question, or like Steve narrating the show for us.
Yeah.
Right.
So here's what just happened, in case it was kind of confusing.
Yeah, which I like though. I mean, this show seems to be, it's not really more so for entertainment purposes, but it's more so like a conscious, like very self-conscious show, you know.
And it makes us think that Steve lives through the whole season, right? Since he's
there's
joking in past tense.
There's a season 2.
There is
as well. So
so
I think
Pablo sticks around,
including Pablo, probably stick around.
But Murphy actually does survive.
Okay,
I
cool.
think he's still alive now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, another one of those like audience questions was Fabio. You know, when he was kind of challenging Pablo there, and he's asking him like, Did you just kill this guy because they won't let you in their club?"
Right.
I thought that was great, because we talked about that in that episode where they did kill the guy because he was trying to get in there, you know, into Congress or whatever, and it's kind of like, oh, they won't let me in, so now I'm just going to wage an all-out war against them.
Yeah, and you know what? I honestly feel like especially with everybody, they're all on edge, and even with Pablo, like he could easily just start taking guys out who talk to him any kind of way, but I feel like he knows they're right in a way. Like even his wife, even his immediate family are not on board with being in Panama. They're like, this sucks. This was a really bad idea. You need to fix this. So I think a part of what's keeping him from crossing that particular line is just the fact that he knows, okay, I effed up, so I have to fix it, and I can't be too upset at these people for being upset at me because they have a point.
Yeah. Do you think he could admit that he's made a mistake?
No.
Well, I feel like, and he's also being written to say less and less. I feel like in the last couple, like this one, and then I looked ahead as well, like I said, and he says less, and it's just long shots of his blank face.
You know, which is, which I noticed that, because, which I like that they're doing that, because it just kind of shows that he feels like, I've got a plan, no one else knows, and they just don't understand me.
They just don't get it,
that kind of
or
stuff.
it could say that, like, shoot, I'm so deep into this.
Yeah.
Like, he obviously has too much pride to ever say that he's wrong. But I wonder if there is any sense of this is getting out of hand.
I don't know if he does. Maybe he just thinks he can strong arm his way through it, even when he's like trying to buy
he's an extreme narcissist.
And all that kind of stuff going on. But also he says, like, which I thought was like probably a foreshadowing line or something to that effect, where he's like, you know, when they go back to Colombia, like, I'll never leave again, like, or I'll die if I leave again. I'm like,
okay,
careful what you wish for a friend there. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But Gustavo is still, like, you know, voice of reason, the one still kind of talking some sense into him. I like that scene with the dynamite thing. And I was wondering who was gonna balk first there. You know, it seemed like Gustavo was like, so you're gonna put it out, right?
Right. Like, we're not gonna die right now.
Yeah, you're not gonna do that. You're not crazy enough to do that. Are you? Are you crazy enough to do that?
Put it down. It's getting close. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know how I necessarily felt. I didn't know if he was reading into the fact that he knew Gustavo was having an affair with.
That's what I felt.
Or if he just,
Marta.
Or if he just felt like, because maybe he seemed like he was spending too much time in the Ochoa area, that maybe that meant that he was a traitor or plotting against him.
Well, it does seem that obviously he suspects the Ochoas for trying to go after him or trying to break off or whatever. But maybe it's just really a test to see how close Gustavo's like loyalties lie there. I mean, he did mention, you know, it's just been you and me from the beginning, all this kind of thing. I don't think he has any reason to mistrust him. But he maybe is starting to feel like he's losing control over what's happening.
I took it as paranoia, you know, with him being a little insecure now about everything and him just being scared that stuff is starting to fall out.
Well, and when he coitus with that girl.
This is what Dave,
the word of the day.
That's right.
This is Dave's favorite word.
We're sponsored by coitus.
Dave Abed.
Yeah.
She was like, let's not be a secret anymore. And he's like, okay. And then it was interesting, like, that was a test, whether it's going to, right? Because that's what she said. And he's like, yeah. And then, of course, like, when push came to shove, it's staying a secret.
Right.
Like, he's not giving it up in that moment.
Well, giving it
Like
up in other ways.
He's going to
He'd already done that.
And we digress. All right. We're adults, we promise.
Pay off your own joke there by setting it up. I go with it. Let's take a quick little break here to talk about iTunes. Folks, head over to iTunes. Give our Narcos after show a rating and review. We'd really appreciate it. It helps get us a new studio. Come on, we're in here.
Nice.
3 of us together in a new studio. It's It's a sight to be seen.
It's a beautiful moment.
or listened to if you're on the iTunes.
Yes.
Yeah, it would really help us out. Give us 5 stars if you really like us, and 4 stars if you'd wish that Dave had been here through episodes.
Right, which I get. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are equally frustrated as you are.
I know.
Just kidding. So let's read a little review from
Yeah,
Southern
shout
Belle
out.
XO. It says, great after show and so happy AfterBuzz is recapping Narcos. I like the different perspectives of the host. Keep up the good work.
Thank you,
Simple
Seven Bell.
but effective.
Simple, effective.
you.
It's just that easy to help out the show, get us some sponsors, maybe even a guest or two. Who knows? Anything can happen.
I feel like this is a big show for us to do. I mean,
Yeah.
Halt and Catch Fire we were on, and it was like, this is a smaller audience show, and I feel like this one, like, everyone I've talked to is at least knows about Narcos,
Yeah.
and most are saying, I need to see it. So I think this is a cool show for us to be on. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Follow it
And
up.
the show's doing well, and they're,
Yeah.
they already picked it up for season 2. So
Boom.
we're doing pretty good.
Good for those guys.
Yeah, good for those guys.
Cast us.
Which character did you play?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Probably someone that blows himself up like 10 minutes into the episode.
Red
15
shirt.
minutes
Yeah,
of
I'm
fame,
fine with
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Cockroach Jr. or something like that. He's
I
up.
suck. Yeah.
I think you could play the guy who waterboards the other day. I think you could play his son.
Or coffee boards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that.
I think that could happen.
I feel like maybe he's short though.
All right.
No, that dude seems pretty
Is he tall?
The
It's
guy
hard
with the
to tell.
stash.
Yeah.
Looks
I like
real
his
tall.
voice though. He seems
They'll
like a
have your
real
people.
Marine.
Yeah, they'll have your people call their people.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
My people
Alright.
don't call anybody.
Yeah, he's also in the Hunger Games.
Yeah. Oh.
So let's talk about Carrillo. They're man, this guy will not back down from anyone, and he's incorruptible. So what does he start? The Incorruptibles.
I know.
It's like a Pixar movie or
It
something
is.
like that, right?
I thought it was actually.
Yeah.
I got it mixed up. I was like,
Dave
did
doesn't even know.
Did
No,
they do
no,
a
no,
Pixar movie
Pixar
about this?
movie.
Yeah.
It's a play on words. There's a movie called The Incredibles.
Oh,
I
yeah.
see.
Pixar.
Okay, explain it to me.
Yeah.
Copy
Better when you
kicking
can
in.
explain the
Yeah.
joke. It's also cool when you've seen things.
Right. No, I would close my eyes.
This is me and Dave's dynamic.
I just crap all of each other for most of the
that's
show.
what we're
They'll
doing,
be here
but-
every week, ladies and
that's
gents.
right.
We will be. So they offer him $6 million to basically shut up, which he finds out that his buddy, I missed his name, he finds out that his guy, he's like, well, I got a message. Who's the message from? And
Say
basically-
it.
Say his name.
Right.
Heisenberg.
Right.
And then he's like, no, it's not Heisenberg. It's actually Pablo, or Escobar is what he says. I like having this guy be so bold-faced, which, I mentioned at the top of the show that he calls him at the end of the show after being, having an assassination attempt
on him.
and being offered all that money. He's still poking the bear there. I loved it. Why is he doing it? Isn't he scared? Because he's doing it from a payphone out in the open. He could easily, I guess he doesn't know where he's at the point, but he could easily be taken down. Why is he so hard-nosed, or why is he so unafraid to take on this guy? He's the richest drug lord in the country.
Yeah. Which is interesting because he was basically introduced because Javier had paid, I think it was it Suarez? In some way, he had paid to get Carrillo there to basically waterboard or coffee board the informant that basically gave up Pablo as the one who put the hit out on Lara. So that was kind of how he got into it. It wasn't like he just agreed to...
Yeah.
They kind of set up some sort of payment arrangement or deal to get him
Sure.
in there. So when he first came on the scene, I kind of wondered what his motives were, if he was really... about justice, or if he was just somebody like
Seems
everybody
like he
else.
clearly is,
But
yeah.
at this point, he definitely seems like he is about that life. And I think maybe for him, he strikes me as somewhat of a very cocky, confident guy. He's super, super trained and skilled in his area of expertise. He's worked in, I'm not sure exactly which sects, but the army. I mean, he's very well trained. This is protecting his country, protecting his people. That's what he does, and he's really good at it. Right. And I think for everything that's been happening with Escobar, it's kind of a slap in the face. It's all of this corruption, and you're killing cops, and you're causing all of these people to basically turn against their country and serve you in a sense. So for me, I just kind of took it as from his character, he just seems like somebody who he hates Escobar because he's just the representation of everything that he just does not like and he doesn't want to be, and he just wants to take it down because he feels like he's wrong, but also just the sense like he doesn't like that Escobar is so powerful.
I thought it showed fallacy in Escobar in that, because he was like, I know where your family lives too.
Yeah.
And I felt like Escobar like took that into consideration and thought like, okay, like even if he were to kill that guy and his entire family, there's nothing to say that he didn't tell people where Pablo's mom was staying. And so I feel like I thought I saw that affect him and made him think twice.
It did. That was a really great scene, because I think it was the first time that I've seen where Pablo really
scared.
He didn't know what to say.
He's challenged by somebody and it shakes him.
Well, normally he can just kind of either pay somebody off or bully them or something to that effect.
It doesn't bother him, yeah.
But, because I think he really thought, like Pablo really thought he had Carrillo there when he was just like, look.
With the $6 million,
Well, and also like when he's just like, I'm going to go after your mom and your sister. And then, like he names all those like family members. And then Carrillo comes right back at him like, yeah, you actually, this person was at lunch at this place and time. This person is here. This person is there. Like, I'm not backing down.
It was like kids fighting on the playground. It's like, bring it after school behind, the bungalows. Let's do this.
Did he seem a little nervous to you, Dave, Pablo, like when he's getting kind of threatened back there? Or
I thought he did. I mean, nervous might be too like intense of a word for Pablo because he's so cocky. But I thought, the way that he acted, it seemed to me like that. He had a moment of like, whoa, nobody's done this before, and like I don't know how to threaten somebody that can actually threaten me back.
Sure. Yeah, I guess at least on the show we haven't seen him threatened.
Yeah.
He's threatened plenty of people. That's what he does.
But what's interesting is then the story moves forward and Pablo still is so focused on the politician guys. Like we still don't see much screen time of him going after that guy.
Sure. I wondered, though, is Carrillo doing this to get him to, like, slip up? There's that whole line about, like, the bad guys have to get lucky every time, and the good guys can only get lucky once, and, like, that's, I'm messing it up. It's something like that.
Yes.
But I wondered if it's just basically to, like, get him to come out of hiding and make a bunch of mistakes, because now that he's, like pretty enraged after that conversation, it seems like, is that when he says it's all out war, or did he say that before that? I can't remember if he...
Well, I think he had alluded to it, but at that last scene that he thought maybe he would have to go to war, but I think at that point it was definitive, like, no, this is war.
Yeah.
Like, bring it.
I just wondered if maybe that's part of the motivation. Like, maybe he's just trying to, like, look, I can't, well, I don't know, because he's, like, tapping everybody, right? He's even tapping the police and all this kind of stuff, like... This guy's got trust issues, seems like.
Yeah.
Well, and he's working so hard, and I feel like he's gotten now so much. He has an impressive amount of information on Escobar and all of his people, and I think, obviously, he wants to get at this guy a little bit. So he finally, I felt like this guy probably got all this information. He's like, you know what? I need to just show my cards a little bit to this guy.
And he also did come at him in a restaurant with his wife. Maybe that personal blow is what fires him up a little bit more there.
It was personal.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It was personal on both sides.
Yeah, well, but
the guy was a horrible shot, by the way. He had the machine gun and he's just spraying bullets and...
It's hard to hit a moving target, Dave.
I guess.
Well, first of all, the way he came out, too, he was very obvious, like, I'm pulling out a gun, like, it was... He could use some
There was a little bit of, like, when he came into the restaurant, I'm like, this guy's up to no good.
He looked just
Which I think his character name is Sure Shot, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, was it?
Not that sure. But also, his bodyguard, by the way, like, keep your head on a swivel, brother. Like,
yeah, what's this guy?
He was down in his, like, pancakes or whatever.
Why is he standing at the door?
Yeah.
I kind of wondered. I thought, like, this dude's asleep on the job, and then when the dude came in that was obviously there up to no good, where is he? That kind of look, and then I'm like, okay, well, I hope you don't get shot.
Bye-bye, bodyguard guy.
Bodyguard's got to eat too.
I wrote, his bodyguard sucks.
His bodyguard, the bam.
Yeah.
He did suck. Yeah, and why is he wearing bulletproof vests? They're telling everyone to wear a vest, but bodyguard doesn't. They're very brazen down there in Colombia.
Yeah.
I guess if you get shot in the face, the vest doesn't do much.
True. Doesn't every time you look at one of those Colombian like military guys, you just think, man, like how poor must you have to be to sign up for the military? Because people are dying by the dozens every day, and these kids are still signing up.
It
just shows people have no options.
Yeah, I guess so.
How rough it was in that time.
So you get Steve there. Steve backs up Javier's thing. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but so he knows that Elisa is part of M19, comes in there with the gun, points it in her face. It's not a proper hello, Steve, I don't think.
Right.
But why is he backing up Javier there? Like, he obviously doesn't trust Elisa. You know, and I thought for a minute there when they're talking in the like boardroom, wherever that is, and you know, they're like, could have been this person, and Steve looks over at him like,
what are we gonna do? Yeah.
Yeah, but then he's like, I was an informant. We got the wiretap.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, Steve, by the way, bad liar. I'm just gonna say, when he talks about being like head of janitor services or something like that, like, I'm a
the worst lie
janitor.
ever.
Where's your mop, dude?
Right.
You know, and then like now he's like, I was a wiretap. Tapped an informant, other official type words. But either way, like, do we have any thoughts about why he's backing up his boy here?
Well, it's got to be one to protect his own wife. I mean, he's got to wonder how, like, if they were to tell the truth now, they've already broken laws.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I think story-wise, too, like, these guys need to continue to bond as partners for us to like them. And that, like, was a big moment for them. And it's, like, a big team-building moment. So I think those two...
I mean, also, protection from treason.
Yeah.
Because it's a really sticky situation, and it wasn't like Javier put him in that situation. His own wife did, you know, unbeknownst to her. The wife sucks.
When they just send her back home or something, you know, like, would she really get in trouble? It's not like she swore no.
But if they didn't do it right away, and those guys, those CIA guys or whatever, already hate Steve.
They could charge her as an accessory.
Like,
I'm sure, you know, it's the U.S.
Again, it's one of those things where you're like, why didn't they just say it? But it's real life. They really didn't.
Yeah.
So you think they had the reasons.
It didn't happen. So, I mean, I get why Javier wants to protect her for other reasons.
Sexual
healing. Dave, don't point it out specifically.
Okay.
It's better when it's
subtle. Yeah.
Subtle.
You know, I don't do that.
I know that. But yeah, I was like, okay, so Steve is backing up his boy here. I like seeing them build the trust there. Seems like I keep calling them DEA, but they're like CIA, DEA. Sometimes I get confused on which one they are. They have to do with drugs, but I'm just kind of like, I guess he just doesn't want to rat out his guy. Is that just loyalty, or is it just, or am I picking up anything else?
I think it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
They're partners. So you got to be loyal. You got to stand behind your partner, and then for his wife, he just wants to make sure she's safe.
And I think it can, and probably also he knows it's one of the best chances to get Pablo Escobar as well, and this guy is in it.
Yeah,
you know,
That's
so
true.
you don't want to give that it.
Properly motivated to do that.
So
there was that attack. You know, like we're like, okay, so Elisa tries to warn Connie, and then Connie tries to warn Steve, or does Elisa call him? I couldn't tell who he was on the phone with. But basically, they're like, his wife's like, M19 and this and Elisa, and then he runs into the ambassador's office, and then they see everything happening on TV there, and people just being mowed down. Sorry, I got confused on this point too, because I'm like, this episode felt like it was. I liked the episode a lot, but I did feel kind of all over the place and trying to figure out like who was motivating what. But obviously, all those people were sent by Pablo to.
Wait, I'm forgetting how this episode ends.
What ends with the Pablo and Carrillo's conversation.
But what are you referring to? Which part is this?
When he runs into the ambassador's office, they're watching the TV, and like there's like tanks and people are being shot down.
Was that the Palace of Justice?
Yes, the Palace of Justice. Sorry. Is that M19 making that move? Or is that okay. I was kind of confused about all that. I was like, wait, when did this happen? But I guess basically the warning was too late.
Yeah.
So too late. I mean, the guy runs in, it's already on television.
Yeah. Which I guess on Elisa there, he was trying to do a good thing. Like, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, though. I was like, how much time elapsed? Because, I mean, how much time? You've got to have a fair amount of time to get tanks into this area. And, so it must have been hours, if not a day.
Yeah.
Well. So how are we feeling now about Gaviria sort of taking over Galan's?
Yeah, well, it seems like he's pretty.
He was the speechwriter. Like, he didn't seem initially to be.
We got him
interested.
Like behind the stage there, like mouthing the speech with the dude, and kind of like, I'm just trying to make sure he gets it right. And then the second he gets killed, which saw that coming easily, but. He's like, I don't know if I really want to take a stand.
Yeah. But I keep getting a little annoyed that each of these politicians are like, it's not going to happen to me, and even if it does,
I think he knows it's going to happen to him, though. That's why he doesn't want to take a stand.
But he still doesn't take Steve's help. When he's like, hey, and he's like, no, I get it. We talked to your Secret Service, and we get it. Thanks. Like, they just seem so,
he eventually does. He eventually does take their help and their advice. But I think for them, you know, it's like this is Colombia and too much interference with the U.S. I don't know. For them, for the impression I'm getting is that they feel like having too much interference from the U.S. it doesn't make them look like strong enough leaders. You know,
Right.
It doesn't make them look like they're taking enough control of the situation. And then, you know, a part of it is, it's probably like, well, what else are we going to do? I mean, judges have to freaking hide their faces, you know, with masks when they go in and they appoint these extradition cases. So there's really no protection and escape. You kind of just have to be bold and hope for the best.
Yeah.
know?
Well, ultimately, like, I mean, just like Minister Laura, like, somebody's got to stand up and sort of take a bold stance here. Otherwise, it does become a narco state. Yeah. But it was, I liked the tension of seeing like Pablo watch it on TV, like, what's he gonna say?
Yeah.
And then he's like,
and just how crazy too.
Extradition is the thing that should happen. You know, it's like almost like he's looking around, like, when's it gonna happen?
Yeah.
To me?
Yeah. But I'm just like, how crazy is that to, you know, a close friend of yours, you know, he's killed right in front of you, and now all of that weight is, you know, Colombia is in tyranny right now. Like, just all of that falls immediately on you. And he struggles throughout this episode with being in favor of extradition, with even going through with the campaign. I think the only real reason he does it is because his son does that very moving speech and sort of compels him to continue forward with it.
It did seem like his son making that call for him, saying he's a new hope for Colombia. It did seem a little bit like he was like, I didn't tell you to say that.
Yeah.
Right, I couldn't tell in that moment.
I mean, that's you can't be like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah,
you know, like, you gotta go through with it after that point, you know?
Hey, man,
like, you put me on the spot, but all right, I'll do it. I'm running for president.
I wanted to see my next birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have plans, you know.
I'll buy you some Star Wars toys or something.
Oh, right, some Pixar toys.
Pixar toys. It wasn't around yet then. But I do like his wife being the one to fully, which I was kind of confused. She was like, it was like almost like somebody who has the fear with you. I mean, Steve's narrating there again, which I'm finally getting used to that sort of thing happening on the show. But it seemed like, well, someone who has fear with you, or at least says like, yeah, you should be scared of the situation, sort of seems to motivate him forward. That and what Galan says to him, which is the title of the episode, there will be a future. Seems like ultimately, even though he's like scared, witless, I'll say, he's like, okay, it still has to be done.
Yeah. He makes the decision, and I think, you know, he eventually decides, I'm going to do this for Colombia, I'm going to do this for Galan, who was his friend, whose life was taken. And you have to step up, you have to do it. So
I thought the wife had a really interesting acting choice in that scene in the office. She was like smiling the whole time. When she's talking to him, she's like, you know, you're going to, and I'm thinking, wow, like, your husband is like signing up for almost certain death, and you're smiling? I was like, they must have done the take a couple different ways, and for some reason they chose that one.
But, I didn't think about that, but that's a good point. I was just more concerned with like the bird and flying into the house, and it was like, it's one of those things where I'm like, there's some obvious symbolism that I'm missing here.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the bird, I don't know.
Yeah. And I was like, almost had my eyes closed. I was like, they're gonna get shot right now.
That was great though, because they kept building up the tension, and then it was just like, no, she's just going to inspire him to stand up and do
Wait, no,
his
you're
duty.
talking Carrillo's wife in this moment.
No, I'm talking.
Isn't that the bird is his wife?
Yeah,
that scene was his wife. The other one.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
The bird, yeah.
The bird's his wife, and then the other scene where they were in the office, and he's like, I don't know what to do. And did she say don't?
Yeah, she told him not to. She told him to basically act like he was going to be in favor.
Right, and she was like, oh yeah, because she was like, do you have to make a choice? And then smiling.
Yeah.
Do you have to make a choice? Smile pants? It's
exactly.
Like,
Smile pants.
That was in the character notes
the
as well.
wife sucks.
Yeah, wife sucks.
But I mean, just again, like, it adds such a great tension and suspense value to the show, because these were real experiences. I mean, can you imagine, like, not even being able to take a crap on the toilet, like, without.
It's interesting that you went to that image, but yes.
Yeah. I went there. I totally went there.
Sure.
But just, you know, without the fear of somebody busting in and taking your life, you know, like, everything, every little move that you make, everything is so calculated, and you have to be on guard 24/7.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there's a lot of great suspense in the show. I just don't know how you could live that life.
Never. Yeah.
Not me. No.
And it's a lot of people had to live that life too.
But maybe that's the bigger motivation, is like, people don't want to be like sort of intimidated and live in this narco state or whatever. And it's like, even though it sucks for us, it sucks worse for everyone else.
Exactly.
Which is cool. So let's head on into some predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Is that a new voiceover guy there?
It does sound a little different, but I think it's the same guy. Maybe they just beefed up the sound.
It sounded like they beefed it up a little bit.
Who knows?
Pick it up an octave.
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys have both seen the next episode.
It's kind of hard to make predictions when the whole season comes out.
And episode 6 is good. Guys.
Yeah.
Watch
Yeah.
it.
I mean, what
Oh my
percentage
gosh.
of people listening to this show have
Haven't
not
already
watched the
seen it,
entire
yeah.
season?
Most people have probably binged
Yeah.
it. I don't want to have like
You
a 10
haven't.
I haven't. I don't want to watch like a 10-hour discussion though, about
Yeah.
like one season of Netflix.
Right.
I mean, we can do it. I
No,
think
but I'm
we're
saying
all
you
talented.
haven't. You're.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't. So you're saying basically it's just on me to predict?
Yeah, you go ahead and make your prediction.
Well, we can talk about others.
Yeah.
Well, I can predict and then like watch you guys' faces.
Right. I'll just cover my face,
Yeah,
which
we'll
is
blink
hard for
one
me.
for if you're off.
I guess I didn't really have much, but there's an easy prediction about like, Pablo's talking about the politicians like cattle. We learned all that stuff about like a goal and all this secret conversation stuff. So obviously after being really prodded there by Carrillo, he's going hard after the power, I guess if you want to call it that. Man, I would like to see. I'd like to see Elisa make it. I'd like to see her not die, but I kind of feel like.
What does it mean for her to make it?
Well, basically, I'd like to see her get out of the country.
Yeah.
Because she's in immediate danger. I think it would be a good win for Javier. But I don't really see it happening.
Right.
Get out the country without her being arrested by
Well,
US government?
being arrested would be like she'd at least be alive still. I think that maybe. I feel like because she's in hiding. I don't know, like maybe the M19 could find out she's working with them or whatever, and I mean, she's definitely gonna die.
Does the M19 still exist though? Didn't they get all mowed down by Pablo? Wasn't that the M19?
No, they just kind of like work with Pablo. Like he kind of like put them on his team.
Yeah, but who are isn't it the M19 that he shot after they charged the Palace of Justice and they're all in that room and then he machine gunned them all down after giving them $1 million? He was like, here's your $1 million for helping me. And then he shot everybody at the end of the episode 4.
Was that all of them?
I don't think that was all of them.
He did shoot a bunch of them.
There was quite a few of them, and it was the leader.
That was the leader. So that's why I assume like that group has to be pretty... And the world knows it was M19.
Yeah. But I wouldn't
Right.
imagine, since it's a communist group, I wouldn't imagine that it's only in Colombia. It's probably
Oh, okay. So it's an
a more
international
widespread.
group.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
I can just see her dying, but I don't really actually want to see that.
Right. I'm going to say, even though I've only seen one episode ahead, I'm going to say Guerrero makes it. He's not going to...
Gustavo?
Gustavo.
Oh,
Gonorrhea. Gonorrhea makes it, and he becomes president. That's my guess.
That's cool. By the way, we saw President Bush there, the first President Bush.
Yeah.
Like,
It doesn't seem intimidating when you see him, right? You think, there will be no drugs.
It's a great impersonation, dude.
I'm Saturday Night Live. Here I am.
There you go.
Sunday Night
Ashley Chapman, where can people find you
Hey
online?
guys, check me out on Twitter, Ashley_Chapman. Thanks for watching.
Hey, Dave, Go Blue Dave on Twitter, Dave Abed on Instagram, and every Saturday at the Next Door Lounge, some murder mystery dinner theater action.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, the Isaac Johnson. You can also catch me on an upcoming episode of CSI Cyber.
Oh, Cyber Sex.
Yeah, no.
CSI Cyber Sex?
That's not what the show is called, Dave.
That's the one I was watching.
Booked a role on there, and
Nice.
it'll be in November sometime. I don't know when it's going to be.
Villain, good guy,
You'll have to tune
to
in to
look.
find
waiter.
out, Dave.
Okay, gonna be
A
the
waiter.
best. What would you like for lunch, sir? I've ever seen.
I don't think there's any waiters on that show.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that was exciting. So
Sweet.
we will see you folks
Bye,
next week
guys.
for
See ya.
episode 6.
6.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.